Before we start, I want to say that only 1% of you are subscribed. Please subscribe because when we reach 1,000 subscribers, I will post a special video for you. The neon lights of Zalara's intergalactic market bathed the bustling plaza in hues of electric blue and vibrant green, casting long shadows that flickered like the hopes of those brought here against their will. A cacophony of alien dialects filled the air, each pitch and timbre a testament to the diversity gathered at this central hub of trade and intrigue. Tom maneuvered through the crowd, his eyes scanning the various stalls and vendors. He was a rugged human, with a frame well built from years of manual labor on distant outposts. The market was a frequent stop for supplies on his routes, but today, the air felt heavier, the cries of auctioneers more desperate. Beside him walked his companion and co-pilot, Ren, a large, burly man from another human colony, who shared Tom's distaste for the darker aspects of the fringe markets. "Why are we even here, Tom? You know how these auctions turn my stomach," Ren grumbled, his gaze fixed on a small, shackled figure at the next vendor's stall. "I heard about a rare engine part from the last trader we met." "Supposed to be here somewhere," Tom replied, his tone nonchalant but his mind alert. Their conversation paused as they approached the central auction platform. A small crowd had gathered, murmurs rising as the next auction began. On the stage, a young alien girl stood, her bright eyes darting around in visible panic. Her delicate, scaled skin shimmered under the harsh lights, a contrast to her plain, threadbare garb. "And what do we have here?" The auctioneer boomed, his voice slick with false cheer. "A rare gem from the Teldari clusters. This beauty not only charms but serves perfect for those seeking a companion who's easy on the eyes and skilled in the domestic arts." Tom and Ren exchanged a look. Disgust was evident in Ren's furrowed brow. "She's just a kid," Tom muttered, his voice a blend of anger and pity. "Starting bids at 500 unis. Do I hear 500? The auctioneer shouted, gavel raised. Tom felt a pull in his chest, the weight of an impulsive decision forming. He stepped forward, his hand raised. 500, he called out, his voice firm. The crowd turned to look at the human who dared interrupt the flow of the typical clientele. Whispers broke out as the bid continued to climb, spurred on by Tom's initial offer. 800. Another voice shouted from the back. Tom glanced at Ren, who nodded slightly, a silent agreement passing between them. 1,000, Tom countered loudly, his jaw set. The auctioneer's smile widened, his eyes gleaming with the prospect of a bidding war. 1,000. Do we hear more? The crowd hesitated, the other bidders assessing Tom's determination. After a tense moment, the auctioneer banged his gavel. Sold to the gentleman for 1,000 unis. A fine purchase indeed. As Tom approached the stage to claim his bid, he could see the relief mixed with confusion in the girl's eyes. He offered a reassuring smile, which seemed to ease her slightly. "Don't worry, you're not a purchase. You're free as soon as we're out of here," Tom whispered as he handed over the credits to the overseer. Ren joined him, clapping a hand on his shoulder. "Let's get her out of here, and then you can tell me how we're going to explain this to the crew." With a nod, Tom guided the alien girl down from the stage, her uncertain steps slowly steadying as they moved away from the auction block and into the relative freedom of the cosmos beyond. The hum of Tom's ship, the Celestial Wanderer, filled the bridge as they departed from the chaos of Zalara's market. The alien girl, now known as Lyra, sat quietly in a corner of the cockpit, her gaze fixed on the stars streaking by the viewport. Ren was busy at the navigation console, setting coordinates for a less populated sector where they could lay low for a while. Tom approached Lyra, crouching down to meet her eye level. He offered her a warm, tentative smile. "Hey there, Lyra. I'm Tom, and that's Ren." He gestured towards his friend who waved without turning from his task. "You're safe here. We're not going back to that place, okay?" Lyra nodded slowly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Thank you, Tom. Why did you help me?" Tom shrugged, his eyes softening. "It seemed like the right thing to do. No one should be treated like that, not if I can help it." Ren finally turned away from his instruments, joining the conversation. "Plus, we could use more company. It gets boring listening to Tom's old stories." Lyra managed a small smile, her first genuine one since they'd left the market. "I can help. I've learned many things. To survive." "That's great," Tom said. "But for now, just trust. We'll sort everything else out later." As Lyra settled in, Tom motioned for Ren to follow him to the lower deck. Once out of earshot, he lowered his voice. "We need a plan, Ren. We can't just keep running forever." Ren leaned against the wall, his arms crossed. "I know a guy on Hestia Station. Does good work, no questions asked. Could get her some papers, make her a free citizen. Tom nodded, deep in thought. Set a course for Hestia then. It's as good a plan as any. Over the next few hours, Lyra began to relax, watching as Tom and Ren worked together seamlessly, a camaraderie born of years in the void of space. The quiet of the ship was a stark contrast to the cacophony of her previous life. She was intrigued by the array of controls and displays, her curiosity gradually overcoming her reticence. "What does this do?" Lyra finally asked, pointing to a series of buttons on the dashboard. Tom looked over and smiled, walking back over to her. "That's the communication array. We use it to talk to other ships, space stations, anyone out there in the cosmos." "Could I learn how to use it?" she asked, her interest piqued. "Sure," Tom agreed with a nod. "Tomorrow, I'll show you the ropes. For now, though, Ren will give you a tour of the ship. Right, Ren?" Ren grunted, a smile tugging at his lips. "Right. Come on, Lyra. Let's get you familiar with your new home." As Ren showed Lyra around, Tom watched them go, a sense of satisfaction settling in his chest. He hadn't planned on becoming a rescuer, but now that he was, he felt strangely content. Maybe, just maybe, they could make a difference in Lyra's life. By the time they returned, Lyra was chatting more freely, asking questions about each section of the ship and even about their past travels. "That's the engine room," Ren was saying. "Tom here almost blew us up once trying to fix the hyperdrive." Lyra laughed, the sound bright and clear. "I'd like to learn about that too. Maybe I can prevent the next near explosion." "Deal," Tom chuckled, pleased to see her coming out of her shell. "No more explosions if we can help it." As they settled down for the evening, Lyra no longer looked quite so small or frightened. She was still a long way from whatever she considered home, but for now, the Celestial Wanderer was a good place to start. The journey to Hestia Station was smooth, the soft hum of the Celestial Wanderer blending into the backdrop of the cosmos. Lyra spent her days learning about the ship's operations from Tom and Ren, her curiosity blossoming into a keen interest in space navigation. Tom watched her one morning, maneuvering the holographic star maps with a growing confidence. "You've got a knack for this," he commented, a proud grin on his face. "Thanks, Tom," Lyra smiled back, her hands pausing over the controls. "It feels good to be useful, to do something other than before." Ren, who had been checking the fuel gauges, chimed in, "You're more than useful, Lyra. You're part of the crew now." Her smile widened, and she turned back to the console, a flicker of determination in her eyes. As Hestia Station came into view, a sprawling mass of metal and lights orbiting a quiet moon, Tom prepared for docking. "Ren, ready to meet your contact?" "Always," Ren replied, clapping Tom on the shoulder before turning to Lyra. "You'll stay here with Tom while I check things out. We don't know this guy super well." "I understand," Lyra nodded, her gaze lingering on the viewport, watching the station grow closer. Once docked, Ren left to meet his contact, leaving Tom and Lyra alone on the ship. Tom took the opportunity to discuss the next steps. "When Ren gets back, we'll see about getting you some identification, something that says you're a free individual." Lyra looked at him, a mixture of gratitude and concern in her eyes. "What happens if they don't believe I'm free?" "We'll make them believe," Tom said firmly. "We're not going to let anyone take you back to how things were." Her hand reached out, touching his arm lightly. "Thank you, Tom. For everything." The moment was interrupted by Ren's return. He appeared sooner than expected, his expression grim. "We've got a problem," he announced as soon as he stepped onto the ship. "What's wrong?" Tom's stance shifted to one of alertness. "The guy, he's asking for more than just credits. Wants a favor. A big one." Tom frowned, crossing his arms. "What kind of favor?" "Something that doesn't sit right with me," Ren confessed, looking between Tom and Lyra. "He wants information on arrivals, shipping routes. Smells like piracy, and I told him we're clean traders." Lyra's eyes widened. "I don't want to cause trouble for you both." "It's not your fault, Lyra," Tom reassured her quickly. "We'll figure something out. We always do." The three of them gathered around the cockpit, poring over star maps and data pads, brainstorming alternatives. Tom suggested, "What if we find another contact on the station? There's got to be more than one person who can forge documents." Ren nodded, tapping at his datapad. "I'll make some calls, see who else might be trustworthy." As Ren worked his contacts, Tom turned to Lyra. "How are you holding up?" "I'm okay," she replied, watching the lights of the station flicker outside. "I just hate feeling like I'm still a burden." "You're not a burden," Tom said sternly. You're part of this crew, and we look after our own. Ren's voice cut in, a hint of relief breaking through. Got someone. A friend of a friend, says he can do it clean. No favors, just credits. Let's meet him, Tom decided. With a new plan in place, they ventured back into the station. This time, Lyra stayed by their side, her presence a silent assertion of her newfound place among them. Meeting the new contact went smoothly. Papers were exchanged, credits transferred, and soon, Lyra held a set of documents affirming her status as a free individual in the galaxy. As they walked back to their ship, Lyra looked up at the stars, then at Tom and Ren. I guess this is the first step to truly being free. It is, Tom agreed, a protective edge to his voice. And it's just the beginning. With Lyra's new identity solidified, the Celestial Wanderer set a course away from Hestia Station, the void of space offering a stark backdrop to their recent victory. But as they moved deeper into uncharted sectors, the initial relief that filled the ship began to wane, especially for Lyra. Tom noticed her frequent, contemplative stares into the abyss outside the viewport, her joy seemingly tethered by invisible strings to her past. One evening, as Tom navigated through a particularly dense asteroid field, he called Ren and Lyra to the cockpit for a navigation meeting, hoping to engage Lyra more actively. Here's the plan, Tom began, pointing to the holographic map that lit up the dim room. We need to reroute through the Tarkin Belt. It's tricky but faster. Ren nodded, leaning over to study the proposed path. I'll handle the manual controls. Lyra, you keep an eye on the sensor array. Shout if you see anything larger than a dinner plate coming our way. Lyra nodded, a trace of her usual enthusiasm shadowed by hesitation. As Ren took his position, she turned to Tom. What if I miss something? I don't want to be responsible for. You won't miss anything, Tom reassured her gently. You're sharp, and you've got a good instinct. Trust yourself, Lyra. As they started their maneuver through the belt, the ship jostled lightly under the strain of gravitational forces. Tom kept a steady hand on the navigation, while Ren's occasional updates filled the cockpit. Lyra's focus didn't waver, her eyes scanning readouts and sensors with growing confidence. You're doing great, Lyra, Ren called out after a particularly narrow dodge. Told you she's a natural, Tom. Tom smiled, pleased with the smooth teamwork. See? Nothing to worry about. Yet, as the adrenaline of navigation waned, Lyra's mood seemed to dip. Once they were clear of the asteroid belt, she lingered by the controls, her fingers idly tapping against the console. Everything okay? Tom asked once Ren had left to check on the engine integrity. Lyra hesitated, then sighed. I keep thinking about back there, on the market. It's hard to believe I'm truly free. Freedom's more than just papers and permission, Tom said, turning to face her fully. It's about feeling safe, feeling like you belong. That might take time, but you'll get there. We'll make sure of it. I know, Lyra nodded. It's just. Sometimes I feel like I'm still there, waiting for my lot to be called, wondering who I'll have to serve next. Tom moved closer, his voice soft. You don't have to serve anyone ever again, Lyra. Here, you're one of us, a crew member, not a servant. The conversation was cut short by Ren's return, his mood upbeat. Engines are purring like a Kaldorian cat monster. We're good to go. Tom clapped him on the back, then turned back to Lyra. How about you join me for a meal? Ren's cooking tonight, and despite his many talents, culinary skills aren't one of them. We could use your help. Lyra managed a smile, the cloud lifting slightly. I'd like that. Thank you, Tom. The three of them gathered in the small galley later, where Ren attempted to concoct something edible. The mood lightened with each playful jab at his questionable cooking choices. So, Lyra, got any culinary skills hiding up those sleeves? Ren asked as he nearly oversalted their main course. A few, Lyra admitted, taking over the seasoning duties. On my home planet, I used to cook with my mother. It was one of the few good memories I have from there. Well, let's make some good memories here, too, Tom suggested, watching her stir the pot with a newfound ease. By the time they sat down to eat, the earlier tension seemed a distant memory. Laughter and shared stories filled the room, weaving layer tighter into the fabric of their small, makeshift family. I guess this is what freedom tastes like, Lyra mused, a genuine smile crossing her features as they toasted to safer journeys ahead. The Celestial Wanderer glided through the cosmos, its destination a planet known for its tranquil vistas and healing properties, a spot that Tom had earmarked for a much-needed break. The journey had been smooth, but the deeper conversations and shared moments had revealed that Lyra still carried the weight of her past. As the planet's brilliant blue oceans and lush green continents came into view, Lyra pressed her face against the viewport, her eyes wide with wonder. Tom noticed her excitement and grinned. "Wait till you see the surface. The beaches are made of silica crystals, sparkles like a sea of stars under the sun." Ren, who was checking the atmospheric readings, chimed in, "Yeah, and the water's supposed to have soothing qualities. Might go for a dip myself." "I'd like that," Lyra said, a note of eagerness in her voice. Her interest in new experiences had grown, each day bringing a little more brightness back into her eyes. The landing was smooth, and they set up a temporary camp near the shoreline. The planet was uninhabited, offering a perfect retreat. Tom and Ren quickly busied themselves with setting up the equipment, while Lyra wandered along the edge of the water, her hands brushing over the crystal sands. "Hey, Lyra, want to help me gather some firewood?" Tom called out, beckoning her back to the campsite. She jogged over, her spirits lifted by the beauty of the place. "Sure, what do I need to do?" "Just follow me, and keep your eyes peeled for dry wood. It shouldn't be hard, this place is full of driftwood," Tom explained as they walked along the tree line. As they collected the wood, Tom decided it was a good moment to teach Lyra a bit about survival skills. Knowing how to start a fire is essential. You never know when you'll need it. Lyra listened intently, her hands mimicking his movements as he demonstrated. "Like this?" she asked, arranging the wood as he had shown her. "Exactly like that," Tom nodded, impressed. "You're a quick learner." Back at the camp, Ren had started to prepare dinner using the ship's portable cooking gear. "I hope you two brought back something burnable this time, and not just pretty rocks," he joked as they returned with the firewood. Lyra laughed, helping Tom set up the fire pit. "We've got plenty of wood, and Tom taught me how to start a fire." "Great, because I'm not eating raw food tonight," Ren quipped, setting out the ingredients. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the campsite, the three of them sat around the newly lit fire. The meal was simple but delicious, and the atmosphere relaxed. "This is beautiful," Lyra said softly, looking out at the shimmering water. "I never imagined places like this existed." "There's a whole galaxy of wonders out there," Tom replied, his voice gentle. "And you're free to explore them all with us." The conversation flowed into the evening, stories exchanged about different planets and adventures. Lyra shared more about her home, her culture, and her dreams, which had once seemed so distant. "Tomorrow, let's explore the forest," Ren suggested, his tone enthusiastic. "There might be some interesting wildlife." "I'd love that," Lyra agreed, her interest piqued. "What kind of animals might we see?" "Nothing dangerous, mostly small creatures. This planet is known for its docile ecosystem," Tom explained, enjoying her curiosity. As night fell and the stars came out, the fire crackled softly. The sound of the waves mixed with their laughter and the gentle tones of their stories, weaving a tapestry of newfound friendship and a deepening bond. Sitting there, Lyra felt a warmth not just from the fire but from the companionship of her new friends. For the first time in a long while, she felt a sense of belonging and a glimmer of excitement for what the future might hold. The next morning dawned clear and bright, the sunlight reflecting off the crystal sands and creating a dazzling display of light. After a hearty breakfast prepared by Ren, the trio set off to explore the dense forest that bordered the beach. "So, what should we be on the lookout for today?" Lyra asked, her voice filled with a cheerful curiosity as she adjusted the strap of her backpack. "Mostly small critters, maybe some unique flora," Tom replied, leading the way with a machete to clear the occasional overgrowth. "This planet's ecosystem is pretty gentle, but it's always good to stay alert." As they delved deeper into the lush underbrush, the sounds of the ocean faded, replaced by the symphony of chirping birds and rustling leaves. Ren, who had taken up the rear, pointed out various plant species. "See that vine there? It's got medicinal properties. Locals from a nearby system use it to treat fevers," he explained, plucking a leaf and passing it to Lyra. She examined it closely, her interest evident. "It's amazing how much you know about these things." Ren chuckled. "Years of traipsing through the galaxy will teach you a thing or two about survival." Their light-hearted banter was interrupted by a sudden rustle from the bushes nearby. Tom paused, signaling for silence. A small, four-legged creature, covered in iridescent scales, peeked out from the foliage. It blinked at them curiously before darting back into the underbrush. "Was that a Gleason fox?" Lyra whispered, her eyes wide with excitement. "Yep, harmless but very shy," Tom whispered back, a smile playing on his lips. "Lucky sighting. They usually keep well hidden." The encounter seemed to energize Lyra even more, and she continued to engage both men with questions about their past expeditions, clearly eager to learn as much as possible. As they reached a natural clearing, Tom suggested a break. They sat on fallen logs, the atmosphere around them serene. It was here that the conversation took a turn, delving into deeper, more personal topics. "Tom, how did you end up traveling through space like this?" Lyra asked, handing him a water bottle. Tom took a sip before answering, his gaze distant. "I guess I was looking for freedom, in a way. Freedom from expectations, from the mundane. Out here, every day is different, and every star holds a new story." Lyra nodded thoughtfully. "I used to dream about the stars as a child. I never thought I'd actually be among them one day." The conversation paused as Ren stood, stretching his legs. "I'm going to check out those flowering trees we passed. Might be a good photo opportunity." Left alone, Tom and Lyra's exchange deepened, gradually shifting towards their feelings about each other. "Lyra, Tom started, then hesitated, searching for the right words. "These past weeks, having you on board, it's made the stars seem brighter." Lyra met his gaze, her expression softening. "Tom, I felt something too. I wasn't sure if it was just gratitude or—" "Not just gratitude," Tom interjected gently. "Something more. At least, that's what I'm hoping." She smiled, reaching out to take his hand. "Something more," she agreed. The moment was filled with a palpable, tender energy. Tom leaned in, and their lips met in a kiss that held the promise of new beginnings and mutual discovery. As they pulled apart, the connection between them was undeniable. "Let's take this one step at a time," Tom suggested, his voice low. "One step at a time," Lyra echoed, squeezing his hand. They spent a few more minutes in the clearing, enjoying each other's company before Ren returned, his timing impeccable as always. "Found some great shots," he announced, oblivious to the shift in dynamics. "Ready to head back?" Tom and Lyra exchanged a glance, their shared smile secretive. "Ready," they both said, standing up to join Ren on the trek back to camp, their hearts lighter than they had been in a long while. After their excursion and the significant turn in Tom and Lyra's relationship, the Celestial Wanderer resumed its journey through the cosmos. Life on board began to settle into a new kind of normalcy, with the days structured around ship maintenance, navigation, and the occasional leisure activity that they all shared. However, Tom and Lyra were still navigating the intricacies of their growing bond within the confined space of the ship. One morning, as they gathered in the galley for breakfast, Ren, who had noticed the subtle changes in dynamics, decided to bring it into the open with his usual straightforwardness. "So, you two seem different lately," Ren started, glancing between Tom and Lyra with a mischievous grin. "Anything you want to share with the class?" Tom exchanged a look with Lyra, who gave a shy smile and nodded for him to go ahead. "Well, we've decided to explore." "Well, Tom said, scratching the back of his neck. "We're taking things slow, seeing where this goes." Ren's smile broadened. "About time, I'd say. Just remember, the ship's not that big, so don't forget about us other crew members wandering around." Lyra laughed, the sound light and carefree. "We won't, Ren. It's all very new. And delicate," Tom added, giving Lyra a tender look. "We're not letting it interfere with the crew dynamics. Everything runs as it always has." "That's good to hear," Ren replied, dishing out synthetic eggs onto their plates. "Because today, we've got a full system check to run, and I could use extra hands." The morning passed with the three of them engrossed in technical work. Lyra, who had become quite proficient with the ship's systems, worked alongside Tom, their interactions professional but peppered with private smiles and quiet conversations. Later, as they took a break in the common area, Ren decided to add a bit of light-hearted challenge to the mix. "How about a game of holo chess? Test your strategic skills a bit?" Tom raised an eyebrow. "Are you just looking to reclaim your undefeated title, or is this a genuine team-building exercise?" "Bit of both," Ren chuckled. "Come on, it'll be fun." As they set up the game, Lyra watched with interest. "I've never played before," she admitted. "I'll teach you," Tom offered. "It's quite simple once you get the hang of it." The game turned out to be a lively affair, with Ren showing no mercy to the beginners, yet offering tips and tricks as they played. Lyra's tactical thinking quickly showed, giving Ren a run for his credits. "You're a natural at this," Tom noted, impressed as Lyra cornered Ren's king with a clever move. Ren threw his hands up in mock surrender. "I yield to superior strategy." "Well played, Lyra." The evening wound down with light-hearted banter and shared stories of past games played and ports visited. It was during these moments that Lyra truly felt like she was part of something, a family, albeit a small one formed by circumstance and shared space. Before retiring for the night, Tom caught Lyra by the arm, pulling her gently aside. "How are you feeling about all this? Us, the ship, the new normal?" Lyra smiled, her hand finding his. "I feel happy, Tom. For the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm where I belong." "That's all I needed to hear," Tom whispered, leaning in to kiss her forehead gently. As they separated to their respective quarters, the soft hum of the ship seemed to echo the calm contentment that had settled over its crew. The challenges of outer space loomed ever present, but inside the Celestial Wanderer, a small universe thrived, bound by trust, friendship, and the beginnings of love. As the Celestial Wanderer cruised through the cosmos, the small crew of three had settled into a harmonious rhythm. Each day brought its routine, but with Tom and Lyra's relationship blossoming, there was a new energy aboard the ship. One evening, as they were charting their course for the next trading outpost, Ren brought up a topic that had been on his mind. "You know, we've been doing a lot of trading and running, but what if we tried something a bit different?" Tom looked up from the navigation console, curious. "Different how?" "Maybe we could use our freedom, our skills, and our ship for something bigger. Like advocacy or helping others who've been in tough spots like Lyra was," Ren suggested, his tone earnest. Lyra's interest was piqued, and she turned to face them fully. "That sounds meaningful. But what exactly would we do?" "We could start by spreading awareness, helping enforce anti-slavery laws, maybe even running some rescue missions," Ren proposed, his eyes alight with the prospect of change. Tom nodded slowly, considering the implications. "It's risky. We'd be putting ourselves out there, potentially against some dangerous people. But we've handled dangers before," Lyra added, her voice steady. "And this ship, our team, could really make a difference." The discussion went deep into the night, with each member of the crew bringing ideas and concerns to the table. By the time they retired to their quarters, a plan began to form, a new mission for their lives in the stars. The following weeks were spent preparing. They contacted allies for support, gathered information on galactic slave trade routes, and upgraded the Wanderer's systems for potential rescues. As they approached their first mission target, an illegal slave market on a remote asteroid, the tension aboard the ship was palpable. Tom took the helm, with Ren and Lyra at the ready by his side. "Remember, we're just here to gather information today. In and out, no heroics," Tom reminded them, his voice firm yet calm. "Understood," Lyra responded, her hand gripping the scanner tightly. Ren simply nodded, his eyes focused on the sensor readings. The operation was smooth. They managed to collect valuable data and even aid a couple of individuals in secret, providing them with coordinates to safe havens. As they made their escape, the thrill of their success was mixed with a sobering reminder of the challenges ahead. Back on the ship, as they debriefed, Tom couldn't help but feel proud of what they had started. "We did good today. This is just the start, but it's a good start." Ren was already looking at the data they'd gathered. "There's a lot more to do. But with each step, we're making a difference." Lyra, who had once felt powerless, now found herself at the heart of something powerful. "I never imagined this life for myself," she said, her voice filled with awe and determination. "But I'm ready for whatever comes next." Tom reached out, taking her hand. "We're in this together. All of us." As the Celestial Wanderer set its course towards the next destination, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter. They were no longer just wanderers or traders, they were activists, a part of the galactic community fighting for freedom and justice. The chapter of their lives filled with uncertainty and routine had closed, opening up to an infinite horizon of possibilities and challenges. Together, they faced the future, ready to defend the vulnerable and spread hope where there had been none. Their journey was just beginning, but they were determined to make each moment count, forging a new path through the stars.